I'm in the chapel of St. Trillo, possibly the smallest in the UK, so I'm going to start my short pilgrimage today. St. Trillo was a 6th century Breton who landed here. This place was actually an island at the time. He established his cell here and began working amongst local people, and after that his ministry spread inland. We don't know a lot about him. This is a beautiful little place. So I'm now leaving St. Trillo's chapel. As I say, I reckon it might be the smallest in Britain. A remarkable little building. And on our way towards the church of St. Tudno. Which lies on the coast for 5 miles beyond that headland, which is called the Little Orme. One could even accuse me of having a bit of a Christ-like moment at the moment, because what I'm doing now is walking on water. Not literally, obviously, I'm actually walking on a big concrete wall, but this is the spot where before water came in, and it came in through there and across what is now the golf course, to cut off from where we've just been, St. Trillo's island from the mainland. So we're now crossing over from the island and onto the mainland. Decided to walk along the beach for a while. I love beaches. There's something really natural and holy about them. I suppose it's the place where the land meets the sea. Somewhere that's never constant, always changing. The patterns and the sand, the rounded pebbles. Often, if I'm kind of meditating about things, the image of a beach comes to my mind. I don't know why, but it does. So there's St. Trillo's Isle, which we've come from. I'm now on the Little Orme, and I learnt a very interesting thing on one of the notice boards. Apparently in the 16th century there was a cave here, it's inaccessible now, where 12 Roman Catholic priests were caught with Wales's first printing press, illegally printing a book called the Mirror. I think it was called the Mirror of Christ. I've never heard of that book before, but anyway, they were found, they were caught, but then they escaped, and although I think they got the printing press, the priests escaped. So yeah, it's a very different religious history here, and of course one thing it reminds you is just how isolated the spot was then. It's hard to believe now. I'm now the other side of the headland, and I can see Llandudno, or when I was a kid we called it Llandudno. To be honest with you, no, that's not Llandudno. There was nothing on that bay, and it's amazing to think of it being a really deserted, beautiful spot. But it was in the 19th century, the Mostyn family, the descendant of whom was actually the guy who caught the 12 priests with their printing set. The ancestor of whom, sorry, 4 centuries early. They always owned this land around here, and they developed it as a tourist resort. And since there was nothing there at the time, they took the name from the small community around St Tudno's church. So actually we're going to go straight through what most people call Llandudno and make our way to the real Llandudno. Incredible to think that this place once was an isolated bay. I don't know, maybe even the Great Orme was cut off from the rest of the mainland. Otherwise you would have had a big bank of shingles and just flat land out there. Some of it farmed. It's just covered in scrub, and that was it. Just an isolated, wild, holy place. It is hard to imagine now, but if you try, you can just about do it. So, onto the holy mountain. Here, at last, on the mountain, it's quiet and still. Just got the first glimpse of the goal of the journey. It's the church up on the hill. It's a bit of a walk yet, but you can see up there the graveyard. That's where we're headed. So I'm now in the church of St Tudno, the end of my pilgrimage, and I thought it would be apt to say a few words about St Tudno. So I bought this guide here, St Tudno and St Tudno's church, and he's a patron saint of Llandudno, unsurprisingly considering the name, and he was from the 6th century, but we don't know much about him beyond his name and genealogy. And he's one of the 7 sons of Seithenyn, co-ruler with Prince Tudno of the drowned Cantref y Gwaelod, a legendary country that has lain for 1600 years and more beneath the waters of Cardigan Bay. I have heard that story before, I have to say. It's quite an old legend. But anyway, basically there was a great disaster in the 6th century because of the wickedness of Seithenyn, and a bit like a Sodom and Gomorrah type thing, I suppose. And so the 7 sons went off and I suppose all became monks to atone for the sin. And Tudno first went to the monastery of Banga Isicoed near Wrexham, and then afterwards he came here. It said, in the same sublime faith, Tudno came to the great rock of King Seithenyn, which is the Great Orme, to claim its lofty acres for Christendom. The Ogof Llech on the headland, a small cave, difficult of access. I can guarantee that from having walked along there. Those are really big cliffs. Provided with an excellent spring of crystal water. It's traditionally supposed to be in its first cell. I would love to go there, but you can only get there by boat, I think. And then he climbed up the steep paths of the windswept headland to bring to the little round huts the message of Christianity. And so here we are. Again, like so many of those early Welsh saints, just a hermit who did something very simple. He went to a place and talked and lived the word of God. That's all he did. And the legacy is still felt 1400 years later. So you don't need great wealth or great riches to leave a legacy. Maybe that should be the message of St. Tudno.